Thank you for joining me for another video. And if you're Jewish, get ready for a fun Passover this year. It's going to be interesting. If you're not Jewish, it's definitely also going to be an interesting Passover this year. Every year is an interesting Passover. It will be Passover in about, let's say, a week and a half from the time this video is made public. The night of the 12th of April, which is a Saturday night, the holiday of Pesach, Passover, begins. Sunday the 13th would be the first day of it. So the nights of the 12th and 13th of April, Jews around the world, except for maybe in Israel, where it's only going to happen on the night of the 12th, but Jews around the world will be sitting down and sharing a communal meal with their family in commemoration of the Passover offering that was brought back in the days when we had either the tabernacle or the temple. I've got the Hebrew bouncing around in my head. I just sometimes have a hard time putting it into English. But we have no temple and no tabernacle today, so we don't bring the offering anymore. So what we do today is called the Passover seder. It's a special meal that's eaten the night of Passover, and usually if you live outside of the land of Israel, it's also going to be the next night as well. The reason for that is because a long time ago we relied on messengers going to different communities outside of the land of Israel to spread the news that the new month had arrived. This is the month of Nisan. Today is the 1st of Nisan. Well, some communities were far enough away to where the messenger would not get there until the next day. So he would show up and he would say, something along the lines of, hey, today is the 2nd of Nisan. That only became a problem, when it came to things like, our holidays, which are set on fixed dates. So some places would observe Passover or Pesach. Listen, if I say Pesach or Passover, just keep in mind they mean the same thing. I'm having issues keeping the language straight today, so if I flip-flop between the two, please don't hold it against me. Just understand that I do mean the same thing. If there would be communities outside of the land of Israel who would get the news of the approaching holiday late, well, they would need to basically begin Passover right then and there. Obviously, they would be preparing in advance, getting rid of chametz, which is like leaven, or in modern days, things like yeast would also be, in many homes, just sort of put out of the house. Although yeast in and of itself is not technically chametz, but that's not important. We're not going to get into that. Technically chametz, if you're Jewish, you know that something that is chametz is it's water plus wheat plus thyme. That will give you chametz, and that every Passover is, or at least leading up to Passover, that's stuff that we get out of our houses. Some people have a special room or a closet or something where they'll lock it away and just sort of forget about it for the week, and that's fine. There's nothing halachically wrong with it. It's not going to cause an issue because as long as you don't see it, as long as you don't think about it, as long as you're not consuming it, okay, so it's not really there. Some communities went an extra step. That's how you say it. They took an extra step and began selling their chametz. Technically, those sales are not real sales from just a purely legal perspective. But it's a nice placebo, you know. It's a nominal sale, but really it's not really a sale because they're just going to get it back after the holidays. So it's not really a sale. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about the Passover seder. If you are a Jew, I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to say in this video because you need to be aware of it and you need to know how to sort of counter this sort of it's nonsense, but I don't want to call it nonsense because that makes it sound bad, but this sort of misinformation, there we go, this sort of misinformation that's out there. If you are a Christian, I need you to pay very close attention because in some Christian denominations, they will have a Passover seder, and their seder is, generally speaking, it's not bad. There's nothing technically wrong with the overwhelming majority of it, but there are places where they are intentionally being misleading. They're whoever came up with it is intentionally lying, but people who don't know any better are suckered into it. So, that being said, let's talk about the Passover seder. I'm going to title this video Jesus in the Seder because that's basically what we're going to talk about. So there are Christian denominations out there today who, take Jewish festivals, the historical festivals of Israel that we still celebrate today, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Yom Teruah, how do you call it? The other one, Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah. They'll take Yom Kippur. That's the most important. They'll take these holidays and they'll just sort of bend them a little bit to fit their theology. Passover is one of the more significant ones. If you're not Christian, you may be wondering why. Well, I'll tell you why. Because Jesus, according to all four Gospels, was crucified at Passover time. Now, there is some disagreement between the Gospels over when exactly he was crucified. According to the Gospel of John, Jesus is the Passover lamb, so he was crucified. Almost said crucified. That's not actually the right word, but I guess it kind of is. He was crucified, according to the Gospel of John, on Passover day at Mincha, which is technically not wrong, but it's also not quite right in terms of when the Passover offering was to be slaughtered. And John is specifically pointing you, the Gospel of John is specifically pointing you to Jesus being a Passover lamb in John's eyes as well as in the Apostle Paul's eyes, and I place all the blame on the Apostle Paul because of the one line that he said in 1 Corinthians where he said that, how did he word it? Christ our Passover has been sacrificed for us. There are so many things wrong with what he said that I don't even have time to get into it in this video. But if you're a Christian, I do apologize for telling you openly, but your Bible is very wrong, especially in that place. I don't mean that to be mean. I mean that to we'll call it constructive criticism. If you are going to be theologically correct, if you're going to be more theologically sound, if you're going to, try to break out of man-made doctrines, as many Christians are, and I applaud you for that if you are, then you need to be aware that this is false. What Paul said there is absolutely false. But John also picks up on that that theology, that Passover lamb theology, where Jesus is the Passover lamb. In fact, in all the Johannine works, that would be the Gospel of John, the three epistles of John, and the book of Revelation, we actually see that imagery keeps coming up over and over and over again, that Jesus is the Passover lamb. Jesus is the lamb. One of my favorite passages in the Christian Bible to just sort of look at and scratch my head is, in Revelation, the author says, I saw a lamb standing as though he'd been slain. And, it's only weird to me because, I understand he's going with this Passover lamb theology, but it's only weird to me because, when was the last time you saw a slain lamb standing? Dead sheep don't stand. I mean, that's dumb. That's a dumb mistake to make. But I get it. He sees in this vision, that there is a lamb that looks as though it had been killed, as though it had been slaughtered, that is standing. That's a little creepy. We're not going to get into that. I'm not going to comment on the book of Revelation, except for, if somebody specifically asks me about it. But you need to know that there are passages in the New Testament, in the Christian Bible, that specifically say Jesus is the Passover lamb. And you will hear Christians today say, oh, well, Jesus celebrated the Passover. And yes, he did. If he was Jewish, he absolutely did. There are Christians today who will tell you, with a straight face, that Jesus is the Passover sacrifice, and they are comically wrong, but only because they just don't understand. They're so ignorant of Jewish culture, of the Torah itself, that they just don't know any better. So they can tell you that with a straight face. I'm having a hard time saying it with a straight face as it is. So the Gospel of John paints Jesus as the Passover lamb, places his death on the day of Passover. Actually, it should be the day that the Passover lamb should have been slaughtered. I was trying to remember the word. I was going to say slain, but it just doesn't work as well in English, because slain, it just means to kill like all willy-nilly, like aha, I've slain you. But not that I go around saying that frequently, but sometimes I do, I guess. Meanwhile, while John is telling us that the Passover lamb is Jesus, and that Jesus was slaughtered at the same time as the Passover lamb, it's all symbolism there. Meanwhile, the synoptic gospels, that would be Matthew, Mark, and Luke, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what that means, tell us that no, Jesus had a Last Supper with his disciples. And if you read the account in the Gospels where they're having this Last Supper, it's actually, no, I'm not going to get into that part, because it's funny. It's kind of a funny scene in a few places, but so I'm not going to talk about why. Suffice it to say, Judas Iscariot was the only one that got it. All the other disciples are idiots because they didn't get it. And for some strange reason, when Judas asked Jesus, am I the one who's going to betray you? And Jesus told him, yeah, go ahead and go do it. Apparently, none of the other disciples heard, not even John, who was laying back against Jesus' chest. I find that whole thing just really sort of funny. You can't really, explain that one away. It's just sort of like, what? How did John not hear? Okay, there are ways to explain it away, but I'm done poking fun at it. But the Synoptic Gospels would have you believe that Jesus and his disciples are having a Passover seder. In fact, if you read the accounts about it in each of the three Synoptic Gospels, you'll see that, if you know anything about the Passover seder, it does appear to be depicting a Passover seder. There are so many problems with it that are external to the New Testament, but in addition to Paul not knowing anything about Jewish culture and the author of the Gospel of John not knowing anything about it, you just don't call people Passover lambs. That's just weird. And you certainly don't say that they were sacrificed. That's just anti-Torah. It's actually against the Torah. But I'm not going to talk about that. The authors of the Synoptic Gospels actually date their Gospels, or at least provide us with an earliest possible date for them, by telling us that Jesus had a Passover celebration, a Passover seder, with his disciples. Because Jews have not always, and this is very important, I need everybody to stop what you're doing, just listen to what I'm about to tell you. This is extremely important, especially if you're a Christian, because you need to know this sort of thing so that you can see, what's going on in your Bible. I'm not saying that, as a precursor to trying to convert you or anything. I told you before, I don't care. If you want to convert to Judaism, fine. If you don't, fine. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just pointing out problems, serious issues. I was going somewhere. I don't even have notes for this. Oh, yeah. So the Passover seder that's depicted in the Synoptic Gospels never happened. And I know this because Jews have not always had a Passover seder. As I told you at the beginning of this video, the seder is to commemorate bringing the Passover offering. It's not a part of the Torah's observance of Passover. No, you want Torah observance of Passover? Okay, so don't eat chametz for a week. Get all the chametz out, take the appropriate offering to the tabernacle/temple. Don't eat chametz for a week. You're good. But what about when we didn't have a temple? As soon as the temple went away, we couldn't bring the offering anymore. So the sages, the Sanhedrin, met together and said, okay, so what are we going to do about this? And so they came up with the Passover seder. Every seder follows the same general pattern. I have here a Haggadah that I wrote based off of it's not really the official text, because it's not really an official text, but we'll call it the standard text, the general standard text of the Haggadah. It just outlines the meal. This is, before the meal begins, this is what we're going to do, then we're going to have the meal, then this is what we're going to do after the meal. I am going to share some of it with you tonight. So if a Christian comes up to you, or perhaps you are a Christian, and they say something along the lines of, did you know Jesus had a Passover seder? Did you know that Jesus is foretold in the Passover seder? Because there are some groups out there that will tell you that. And if you are one of those Christians, stop it. You know better. Or maybe you don't know better. But if you are one of those Christians, stop it. It's wrong. It is intellectually bankrupt. Sorry, not intellectual. It is intellectually inaccurate, not bankrupt. It is morally bankrupt, though. That's where I was going with that. That whole kind of a two-pronged attack, I guess you can call it that. And in general, I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you this. I feel like this is one of those things that you should sort of know on your own. But in general, if you don't know something, don't talk about it like you do. And once you learn something, verify it by all means. Go back, verify everything that I say. Don't take my word for it. That's how cults start. Now, that being said, not that Christianity is a cult. I mean, I guess it really depends on your definition of cult. But I wouldn't call Christianity a cult. Just like I wouldn't call Judaism or Islam or Hinduism or any of the other, let's call them major religions, cults. Once we get into, small little sects of, well-known major religions or whatever, that are so far removed from the original that it's really questionable. Well, okay, then I might call that a cult. And we do have cults in Judaism, just like there are cults in Christianity, and there are cults I don't know about Islam. I do know that they say that the Sufis are a cult, but I don't know. So that being said, let's jump into the Haggadah. You need to be aware that the Haggadah opens with this particular one, anyway, that I wrote, opens by telling us that there is a special seder plate that's used, and it has on it 6 items. It has maror, which is bitter herbs, leaves and stems of bitter herbs. Most commonly, it's going to be romaine lettuce. Some people use horseradish. I personally prefer horseradish because I like it, but that's not important. I'll have romaine lettuce and horseradish, both, because why not? Karpas, which is a vegetable. Usually it's a green vegetable like parsley, but some people will also use onions, which is weird, or potatoes, which is slightly less weird, but still kind of out there. If I was starting a cult, I mean, maybe I could use a potato. I don't know. There are 2 types of meat. Now, in the standard, let's call it the standard Haggadah, it's going to tell you that it's a piece of meat and a, how do you call it, an egg. Well, the egg, as it happens, was sort of inserted into Judaism in Europe by the Christians. Unfortunately, Christians messed up a lot of things in Judaism. This happens to be one of them. They inserted the egg into the Passover seder. Why? Because, well, it happens to be at the same time as Easter most years. So Easter egg, Passover egg. It was an attempt to really sort of homogenize Judaism and Christianity a little bit, to make Jews, over time, more open to the idea of converting if, they were similar. And I'm not telling you something that is not already a known and established fact. It's not like I'm just, saying, oh, this is brand new research. No, this is stuff that the Roman Catholic Church wrote extensively about a whole bunch of the weird things that they did. They'd go to a pagan village, they'd convert the people, they would turn the pagan temple into a Christian church. In Judaism, you can't do that. You have to just get rid of the pagan temple, and you could maybe build a synagogue on top of the ruins of the of the pagan temple, but you can't just convert it into a synagogue. In Christianity, there's no such rule, so they can come in, they can just pop up a church anywhere, which is actually really cool in terms of spreading, because now you can use, the no longer used pagan temples. Now you can use, a hollowed out post office or whatever. I don't know. And you can. I actually know a pastor who had a church in an old post office. That's the only reason I even said that. But my family's tradition, we don't use an egg. Why don't we use the egg? Well, because it's actually a pagan tradition. It's actually the same pagan tradition that gave rise to Easter eggs. I don't know if if you're a Christian, and you're not aware of the origins of a lot of Easter and really even Christmas traditions. You may want to look into that, because some of them are actually based on pagan traditions, because, again, Catholics go into an area, and this isn't, necessarily a bad thing, but Catholics would go into an area, they would convert the population, but as a part of doing that, they would sort of syncretize the pagan faith with Christianity in that location. So Easter eggs are very common, they're very popular, but they are part of a fertility cult. In this case, I'm using the word cult, not like a weird French belief, but a cult like a proper religion. It's part of a fertility cult. In fact, even the name Easter in English is actually the name of a goddess, a fertility goddess. A lot of people think that it comes from Ishtar, which is also a fertility goddess, but no. No, it actually is, in English, the term Easter is Eostre, the goddess of fertility, the goddess of spring, hence how it became synonymous with Easter, what we now know as Easter in English. So you have two different types of meat. There's also the matzah, there's also charoseth, there's also a shank bone, a lamb shank bone in the place of one of those types of meats. If you're of that tradition, my family, we do it. Okay, yeah. So that's everything that I wrote about the seder plate. Now, very first thing that's done is at the Passover. And by the way, if anyone wants a copy of this, I can email you a PDF of it. Just go ahead and just message me on Facebook, or leave me a comment. With some way to get a hold of you on this video, and yeah, I have no problem. Even if you're not Jewish, I have no problem sending you one, because personally, I think that Christians absolutely could benefit from having Passover Seder, not as a religious obligation, but more of a learning experience. So you pour the first Seder cup, you make Kiddush over it, you bless it, you sanctify the day. And I'm not going to read all of it, but so after the blessing over the wine, this cup of wine or grape juice, whatever the case may be, there's no right or wrong way. It's either wine or grape juice. I use wine every year. My wife this year will be using grape juice because we are expecting our fifth child. So yay us! But she doesn't get wine this year. which is fine. And my kids, they get, I might let them have a little bit of wine, but they get um, grape juice as well. Uh, so the blessings that are made are a blessing over the wine itself or grape juice, whatever the case may be. It's the same blessing for both. Um, and there's one that is blessing the day of Passover. And then there's one just saying, basically, blessing God for keeping us alive and bringing us to this season. So after that, you drink the first cup. You say the after blessing, which if you're if you can't read Hebrew and you do get my Agada, I'm gonna have to translate the blessings. But I could do that today. That's not that big of a deal. Um, so you drink the first cup of wine. You say the blessing that you would recite afterward. Then you wash hands, and you're going to lift up the karpas. In my family, we use parsley. We actually have a parsley plant in my backyard that is huge. Because I live in Florida, I mean, it's like gigantic because the growing season here is just ridiculous. But we've had it since last year. So we've got a bunch of parsley that we've harvested and just kind of, it just keeps coming back. But so we take the parsley and we dip it twice into the haruset. Haruset is a mixture. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. It is a mixture of, in my family, dates and nuts, spices, and wine. Some communities, especially Ashkenazi communities, basically it's like an applesauce. It's an apple-based paste, maybe. But yeah, it's weird when I think about it as applesauce. But yeah, in my family, our tradition is that we use dates instead of apples. Um, then we get into the telling of the story. We left Egypt in haste. We lift up um, the bread, the matzah. There we go. That's the word. And we say, "Hey, we left Egypt in haste. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate when they left the land of Egypt. Whoever is hungry, let him come and eat. Whoever needs to take the Pesach, whoever needs to eat the Paschal lamb, let him come and observe it with us. This year we are here. Next year maybe we be in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves. May we be free next year." And then we begin the telling of the story of the Passover. There are a few other things that are connected to the story of the Passover that are also read. I'm skipping a lot, for the sake of time. But there are a lot of portions from Scripture that are read, mostly from the Torah. There are a lot, actually, quite a few pages of just various scriptural references. Now, there are, according to Rabban Gamliel, whoever doesn't mention three things on Pesach, he has not fulfilled his duty. Those three things would be the Passover itself, the Passover lamb, matzah, and maror. So, the matzah, we already know about the Passover lamb, but the matzah is the flat bread, the unleavened bread. There are two kinds among Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazi version of matzah is basically a cracker. Think of a saltine cracker, only take away the salt and make it like this big. That's the Ashkenazi matzah. In Sephardic culture, I'm Sephardic. The matzah is a little bit more pliable than a cracker. and it's softer. And in general, it tastes better, but that's not important. We're not going to get into that. I don't want to start a tribal warfare between the same tribe, civil war matzah. But so there are differences, depending on where your traditions come from. But the matzah itself is unleavened bread, like our ancestors ate when they left Egypt. Because they didn't give it time to rise. So then we put that down. We lift up the maror and we talk about the maror, which is bitter herbs, which reminds us of slavery. Then we put down the maror, and then in every generation we're obligated to feel like we were the ones who left Egypt. And then after all of that, we begin the Hallel, which is, we start with Psalm 113, 114, then we pick up the second seder plate. Oh yeah, we make a blessing as well. Blessing Hashem for redeeming Israel. We pick up the second cup, the second glass of wine, make a blessing over it, and we drink it, and we say the after blessing. Then we wash our hands, and we break one of the two matzot in half. In Messianic seders, in the Messianic movement, they will have three, and they'll tell you that it stands for the Trinity. Oh, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Oh, okay. It's very cool. It fits very neatly within their theology. The problem is the tradition of having three matzah loaves is an invention of the church that was forced on Ashkenazi Jews, Jews in Eastern Europe, again, to sort of syncretize a little bit. Same thing as the egg coming into the seder. So when the Messianic, will tell you, or any Christian really who wants to focus on that, will tell you, oh, look, here's Jesus in the Passover seder. Look, we're picking it up. The middle matzah is being broken, just like Jesus was broken. Look at it; it's striped, just like, because it says that by His stripes we are healed. Look, the matzah is pierced, like Jesus was pierced on the cross. It's all nonsense. It's all a farce. And I really don't like to use that word for it, but it is. It's all a farce. It's not real. I mean, it is real in the respect that it's really based on something, but it's not real in the respect that no, there's no basis for it historically. Also, the reason the matzah looks like that is because of the cooking process. So, and it doesn't work on Sephardic matzah. And I'm hoping to record a little video of us, making homemade matzah, so that I can show you that. But halachically, you have two matzot, two matzah loaves. You pick them up, you break one in half, okay, you wrap one half in a napkin, and you just set it to the side. In Messianic seders, and there's a reason I know all of this that I'm not going to get into in this video. But in Messianic seders, so they'll break that middle matzah and they'll wrap half of it up in a napkin. They'll hide it for a kid to find, and then after the meal, the kid finds it, he brings it back. He's rewarded. Sometimes I see them rewarded with 30 pieces of a silver coin. Those of you who are Christians who are watching this see exactly where that symbolism is going. That is not one of our traditions. That's something that the 30 pieces of a silver coin That's something that is strictly a Messianic thing in some Messianic circles. Um, Hiding this broken piece of masa for the kids to find, that is in some Jewish traditions, but it's not it's generally frowned upon in most traditions. Um, so we break it in half. We place the larger half in a napkin and just sort of set it off to the side. Then we're going to lift the complete matzah, the one full one, and the other half, and we say the blessing over the bread. Then we say a blessing over, we're blessing God for commanding us to eat matzah. Then we dip the matzah in the haroset and we eat it, and we lift the maror, and we dip that in the haroset, and we say a blessing over the maror, and then we eat it. Then we eat the meal. After the meal, that piece of matzah that was broken comes back. After the meal, you wash hands, you can't even speak today. You wash hands and you pour, there we go, the third seder cup, and you say Birkat HaMazon, which is the grace after meals. And then after that, you bless on that third cup, which is the cup of blessing. And this, according to the Messianic Seder, is the point where Jesus and his disciples took the cup. If you're Christian, you know the story where he says, "This is my blood." A big no-no in Judaism. Then forgot to mention, before this third cup, you eat that piece of matzah that was set aside. That would be the part where in the Messianic Seder they would say, "Oh, this is where Jesus said, this is my body." Also a big no-no. Then comes the whole "this is my blood." Now, then comes the third glass of wine or grape juice. You make the blessing over it. Then you drink it. Then you say the after blessing. Then you pour a fourth cup. Then we finish the Hallel. We are now to Psalm 115, Psalm 116, Psalm 117, Psalm 118, and we do not get into Psalm 119 because that is 176 verses long, and we don't want to say that. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I love that psalm. It's it's a psalm, 176 verses of the author praising God for giving the Torah. 176 verses about how delicious the Torah is, how beautiful it is, how it makes the simple man wise, how it makes the fool into a wise man, and it's beautiful, and frankly, it's one of those things that you don't see in the Christian world. That's sad, I think. So then we lift up the fourth seder cup. We say the blessing, we drink the wine, we say the after blessing. Then a fifth cup is poured for the great Hallel. The great Hallel is Psalm 136. That's sung. Then we lift up that fifth glass of wine. We say the blessing over it, we drink it, and we say the blessing afterward. And then technically the Seder is over. But I wanted to give you that outline. I also wanted to address the claims of Christians. And I know it's not every Christian, but it is, enough of them that I see it on Facebook every year. Right around this time, that's when all the just misinformation comes out. And again, if you are a Christian and you want to have a Passover Seder, Absolutely, go ahead. Just know that you're not obligated to. If you're Jewish, you are obligated to, and if you're Jewish and you are in the Orlando, Florida area, reach out to me. Um, if if you have no place to have the seder, um, and we'll see what we can do about fixing that. I'm going to have guests, but if I don't have room at my table for you, I know someone who does have room at the table for you. Um, so yeah, there's that. In fact, I usually prepare an extra space anyway, just in case I need to have another guest who shows up last minute. Just in case the Messiah happens to come up to my house to celebrate Passover with me. That's when that's what this extra plate is for, I guess. In the off chance, it could happen. You never know. Very unlikely, but in the off chance, I want to have a spot for him, right? So that's all I've got for this video. It's already taken a little bit longer than I was planning to, but that's okay because I did, get into a little bit of, why Jesus was not having a Passover Seder with his disciples. So if a Christian, or if you are a Christian and you have said this, stop it. But if a Christian comes up to you and tells you, "Oh, Jesus celebrated a Passover Seder. He had a Passover Seder with his disciples. Jesus was the Passover lamb," or whatever, it's not true. It is dishonest. It's factually dishonest. Anyway, that's all I got. By all means, any questions you have, go ahead and fire them at me. And I am expecting a little bit of backlash for this one. But just know that I made this video out of love. No, I made it to more of an educate the masses sort of thing, which I do out of love. But the objective is to show you why the sinners that these Christian groups out there, Messianics, and even some mainstream denominations put on are really dishonest, because Jesus didn't do it. Additionally, anything that does look like Jesus in the Passover Seder only looks that way because the church actually forced the Jews within their realms to include that. So if it looks like Jesus in the Passover Seder, that's because it was intended to be Jesus in the Passover Seder by the Roman Catholic Church in the medieval ages. I'm so glad we've reached a point where the Roman Catholic Church is not that way anymore. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Go ahead and turn the notifications for my channel on. Also, you can hunt me down on Facebook. Just search for an Unorthodox Jew. Hunt me down on Facebook. Drop by, say howdy. Ask me questions if you have any. You can send me questions either in the messages on Facebook, or you can just ask here in the comments section. And last but not least, if you know someone who likes this sort of thing, who likes this sort of discussion, who likes to discuss religious topics, who might enjoy my channel, go ahead and recommend the channel to them. Share the video, share a video or two, maybe some of the not so long ones with them, and just sort of give them a taste. If you particularly enjoyed this video, share this video. Share it far and wide, because sharing is caring. Apparently, I don't know, man. I just got off work a bit ago. I'm tired. So, that being said, I'm done for the night. I will probably be posting a bunch of Passover related things to the Facebook. So if you are on Facebook, please go by there, give it a like and or follow. Um, Share my stuff if you like it. Hit the like button if you like it. Um, you know what to do. It's social media. If you've made it this far and you've been on Facebook for God knows how long and you don't know how to do it, okay, well then you've got a different set of problems. So anyway, I am done. I hope everyone has a great week, and I will see you. Well, I won't see you. I keep saying that, but meet me back here, I guess, for the next video. So, shalom, and if you don't get a chance to see another video other than this one before Passover, happy Passover. Pesach Sameach, Chag Sameach. That's all I got. Shalom.